welcome back to the East West Football Network Draft Show. I'm Jerry Martinez. I got Walter Stringer. Walter,
What's going on?
how let's I don't think we've had an opportunity to look back on the Super Bowl. What did you
Right.
think first and foremost, what did you think about the Super Bowl and what did you learn from the Super Bowl?
Um, I thought it was unfortunate. It was unfortunate what the Chiefs had to go through, what they had to endure. But what happens is football. It could have very well happened to Tampa Bay. So you have to go out there. You have to play through things. Sometimes the whistle doesn't always go your way. You got to find a way to get out of that, and they just couldn't. What I did learn also, when it comes down to it, you must win when you have a young team. You look at Tampa. Look at how young that secondary is. You look at the linebackers. Devin White is a budding superstar. You look at the defensive line. You look at the offensive line. They've got youth all over that team. And they won while that team was young, and they won while that team was young, and they were able to get guys. They have a bunch of guys on contracts that are friendly. You don't want to necessarily play everything out until everything gets taken care of. And if you don't win, now you have a situation where, okay, we got a bunch of high priced players and we didn't maximize that window while it happened. You look back at Seattle, Seattle was able to do it when Russell Wilson was in his second year, I believe. Yeah, so I've always been a believer in winning while the team was still young and
Well,
cap friendly.
I think that you bring a great point. I mean, I think anytime you can get, like you said, a team that's still the majority of your team is still on their rookie contracts. I mean, that enables you to bring in a big price free agent like Tom Brady, right? That can finish the deal off for you. But what I
Mm-hmm.
learned most importantly is regardless of how good your quarterback is, if you cannot block for him, he's not going to be able to do much plays. I mean, because some of these passes that we saw, um, oh man, I mean, and you know what I'm talking about, right? I'm talking about the red
Patrick,
Ferrari. Oh yeah,
yeah,
yeah. So I mean, Patrick
yeah,
Mahomes. I mean, as he's getting tackled, the passes that he was able to do, most quarterbacks can't do that upright with their 2 feet. But still, what I learned was offensive line and defensive line. I mean, look at what the defensive line was able to do to the offensive line, and vice versa. So I think that if you're trying to build a team, you got to have that. You got to have your foundation. Of course, you got to have your quarterback, but you got to have an offensive line that can protect your quarterback. You got to have that defensive line that can just disrupt the other quarterback. So obviously, there's a lot that teams could have learned. Hopefully, that a lot of teams take this blueprint and continue to build within the trenches because that's where championships are won. So in today's episode, we want to say thank you to all those who were patient. Right, we were on a week long vacation for the Super Bowl show, whatnot. But we're back at it. We're back to business, and we're gonna go and talk the top five tight ends. So I'll go ahead and turn it over the table, and you just go ahead and give me your top five, and then I'll mention some people that I've been seeing, and we kind of chop it up a little bit, get familiarized with some of these names because hey,
right.
you never know your team, right? The Detroit Lions or whatever team you like could be drafting this player next. Walter, take it away.
Not a tight end for us though. Not a tight end for us.
Are you sure,
There
Kyle
will there
Pitts?
will be
Kyle
there
Pitts
will
is
be
right
no
there
no
for you.
no. There will be no Kyle Pitts at number 7. There could be a Kyle Pitts at number 6
Or at number
or a
10.
Kyle or number 8. Yeah, yeah. So, but yeah. Anyway, jump into that. My number one tight end on the board is pretty much the unanimous number one tight end on the board, which is Kyle Pitts from the University of Florida. He's the human chess piece. You can line him up offline. You can put him out wide. You can put him in the slot. He runs like a wide receiver. He has long arms. He's very, very agile, and he consistently shows the ability to adjust to 40 thrown balls. That's no knock on Kyle Trask at all, but it's a testament to Kyle Pitts and his athletic ability. He honestly reminds me a lot of Ricky Seals Jones. And I'm surprised people haven't really drawn that comparison to him a little more. They both have pretty much the similar body types, those tall, lean basketball player type bodies. And they both pretty much have like those very, very wide catch radiuses. So yeah, that's my number one. My number two is a guy who's coming off of shoulder surgery in Pat Fryermuth from the University of Penn State.
Baby Gronk.
Baby Gronk, and yeah, Pat is huge. Pat's a big boy, and what I like about Pat is the fact that he's not the most athletic tight end out there that you're gonna see. Kind of looks like he's running in mud sometimes, but Pat plays big, and what I mean by Pat plays big, Pat is 6'5", 6'6". What is he, about 255? I think last time I checked, he was 255. And Pat plays big. There's nobody that's boxing him out. There's nobody that's out jumping him. He consistently uses his body to shield defenders. Pat knows what his strengths are. He's very comfortable with his strengths, and he knows exactly what he's good at, and he maximizes that a lot. So number three is a guy people probably aren't that familiar with unless you live in Big Ten country. You may be familiar with him, Jerry, but um, Jeremy Rucker. And I know Jeremy Rucker is a guy who's kind of far down on a lot of people's draft boards right now because, frankly, they're not familiar with Jeremy. And we were having this discussion prior to the show when we were discussing how college offenses aren't really that tight end friendly anymore. So that's why you see a lot of these superstar tight ends in the league who win in the second round, third round, fourth round. They were pretty much guys who were delegated to being blockers a lot, and every now and then they got some targets. But Jeremy's back. He's pretty much the total package. He's got the right height, weight that they pretty much like in the NFL now. He's got that Travis Kelce frame to him. He's excellent catching the football. He's very dynamic and explosive. What worries a lot of people and what did worry me also was the fact that, the production. But if you look at Ohio State's offense, how many of those tight ends really do produce in that offense? Not too many. So, also, moving on, we have number four. Number four, I have his teammate, Luke Farrell. Luke Farrell's a tall, tough, aggressive blocker who can also get out and catch. And I'm pretty sure when it comes to Ohio State's pro day, he's going to showcase exactly what he can do. That's why I believe all the tight ends I have on my current list, the only one who was honestly productive was Kyle Pitts. Nobody else was really that productive. And another guy who I had on my list prior to him deciding to go back to college was Charlie Kolar. And Charlie Kolar was another guy who was pretty productive a year ago, wasn't too productive this season. If you look at that type of offense that Matt Campbell runs with Iowa State, it's not very tight end friendly. You have to get in when you fit in that offense. And when he did get in, he made his plays. But we'll be talking about Charlie next year. But getting back to Luke Farrell, very aggressive blocker. He seems like a guy who he knew, hey, I'm at Ohio State. The team is what it is. I'm going to swallow my pride. I'm going to do the dirty work. And Luke pretty much did a lot of the dirty work while everybody else got out, ran routes, caught touchdowns, did dances. So I believe when it comes to those pro days, Luke Farrell is another guy who's going to turn some heads. Moving on to number 5, we got Brevin Jordan. The Jordan Reed clone, as I like to call him. Me and you had a lot of discussions about Brevin Jordan going back to probably July and August about where we thought he would go. He's a guy that's pretty much out of sight, out of mind, I guess. He's pretty much fallen down a lot of draft boards. But he's a guy who probably, as we also discussed in the pre-show, he could be that F type. Sort of not necessarily a gadget tight end, but that tight end who's a complete mismatch. Someone who, if you line him up with the right tight end opposite of him next to him, he can be a very legitimate threat. I don't think he'll ever be anyone's number one tight end, first, second, third down. But I do believe Brevin has enough mismatch qualities and enough speed and playmaking ability to give defenses fits. And someone will find Brevin and probably fall in love with him around a second, late second, maybe early third.
Oh yeah, and the thing that we're noticing more and more is the NFL is transitioning is, well, I hate to say transitioning, but what we're seeing is more offenses. What they're doing is they're moving more to a 12-man front, right? When I say 12-man front,
Right.
that means one running back, two tight ends. So when you can solidify, you know, when you can have two tight ends, that puts a lot of stress on all defensive types. It doesn't matter if it's odd or even fronts. It puts a lot of stress because if you want to block, then you're creating more lanes for your running back to choose and hit that hole. But
Yeah.
going back, I think that you mentioned some names that, I mean, when you look around, not many people have them on their top five. Uh, but I mean, the game tape is there. We've studied the 2019 and we've seen the 2020. I think that 2020 was a very unusual year, especially for, you know, players that played in the Big Ten and the Pac-12, right? Because their season didn't get started till later on. But let me go ahead and give you my top five and see. Of course, Kyle Pitts is kind of almost like the unanimous, kind of like the Trevor Lawrence being the number one pick overall.
We
Then
know, Jerry. Question. I want to ask you something though. Does his blocking or his lack of blocking bother you at all?
Actually, no. I like I l- I wish I could see more of it, but I actually like it because he is a willing. I think that if anything, he's really good with the chip blocks, and that could just throw a defensive end completely off balance sometimes. But I mean, sometimes he is a little eager to disengage from his blocking, but obviously we know why because he knows the ball's going to him. So I mean, I think that Kyle Pitts is just going to evolve and get better and better in the league. I don't know if he'll be a Rob Gronkowski type or Travis Kelsey, right? Or even a George Kittle type, but I think that definitely he's going to be a tight end that's going to be, making make getting touchdowns, right? So that's the number one key. So moving
Right.
along, uh, Pat Fryermuth. Now I believe the way they used him at Penn State, it's so unusual. I mean, you have him running tight end sweeps. I mean, when was the last time we've seen an offense do this? And knowing the defense, knowing that he would do this. So when I say a tight end sweep, it's like he's basically comes. I'm just giving you an example. He's coming from the left tackle position and it looks like he's going to be blocking for a running back, but they actually just pitch him the ball and he's running it in, especially towards the goal line. So imagine he falls
Yeah.
to a brilliant minded coach that uses that skill set. I mean, they're going to be getting the best of both worlds when it comes to Pat Fryermuth. Moving
Hmm.
along, we said I think Brevin Jordan would have to be number three. I think that he's very athletic, like you said. That F alignment. I mean, just a complete mismatch. It's the type of he's the type of tight end that you would have to put either a tall, lanky safety or a cornerback actually on him. So it'd be a total mismatch. I got some new names that we haven't. I know with our big board we haven't been able to update that, and we will be doing that pretty soon. But we got Tremble from Notre Dame. Also another um, F type of tight end. He can block. I mean, you can see him engaging. He's block. He's gonna get in there. He's gonna block. He's gonna do his job. But man, he's so electrifying afterwards, especially when he has the ball in his hand. I think that it was kind of hard, especially being stuck behind Cole Komet last year, and then this year I think they had a top upper. They were very big on the freshman tight end that they had this year. So hey, but Trouble made them Treble made the most out of his opportunities, and he looks good. I think his first name is Tommy, so it's Tommy Tremble. And then fifth, I'm gonna go with Hunter Long. I think that Hunter Long out of Boston College. I think that when you're looking at the 12-man fronts, I think that this is your ideal 12-man front. I mean, he looks like he's always eager he's eager to block, but when you get targeted, I think he was in 2020. He led all tight ends. I'm not mistaken. He led all tight ends with 89 targets. And so when you stop, you look at that big picture. I think he finished with like 685 yards receiving. I believe it was 57 receptions, and he had 5 touchdowns. So I think when you look at it, I think that this year it's a very the tight end class is kind of it's one of those that's kind of this is one of the more trickier positions in the group. I think when they what when did we have this discussion about it? This was going to be one of the positions that was the least amount of depth in. But anyways, I don't know if we was
There's there's some guys. There's definitely some guys in this draft. The kid from Colorado State, um, the other kid from Wisconsin. His name just keeps slipping my mind. From Wisconsin, the hybrid because he's about 6'3", 232. Plays like his hair is on fire. Uh, there's definitely some talent in this draft. I think it'll come down to where these guys go because I think when it comes to playing tight end, as long as you're willing to block, if you're not just naturally gifted offensively the way Kyle Pitts is, you better be able to block to stay on the field. If you block enough when you're on the field, they'll eventually throw some balls your way. And I think there's a decent amount, there's a lot of these guys in this draft. And when we look back on this draft, we could say, damn, that guy made a couple Pro Bowls. That guy made one or two. That guy made three or four. Because these guys are so, a lot of these kids played wide receiver in high school too.
very true.
You know, so just look at how these offenses have evolved as well. So tight end is a position where if you're willing to block, they'll let you get out there and get open. You're a mismatch unless you're just one of those tight ends that's just a Twinkie and he's just soft in the middle and he just can't do anything. But tight ends get open. There's no reason for a tight end with a post to not produce. I think all the guys we mentioned have the talent. Look at Cole Kmet, mentioned who was a rookie this year. Cole Kmet looked pretty tremendous last year. But look at the depth of that actual position group last season. This group is better this season and deeper this season than last season.
I know I was big on David Asiasi, who was drafted by the
No.
I was big on him. He out of UCLA. The Patriots, I think, drafted him. What was it
Yeah.
fourth or fifth round? I know they went back to back tight ends. I'm not too sure. I mean, this year has been crazy for us.
Oh. He
I
was
think.
he was channeling Aaron Hernandez, huh? we're
No,
gonna
no,
we're gonna do it.
no. Let's
We're
not do
gonna
that.
do it all over again,
No,
Jerry. We're gonna do it all over.
let's not do that to him. I mean, it's a he's a young man. I think that he had, he was a feisty blocker, and man, I mean, shoot, he would come away with the ball. But yeah, I think the Tommy Tremble and Hunter Long. I think those are some names that we should keep an eye out on. Well, that sums it up. I think that if you have any further questions, I mean, feel free to reach out to us on any social media platform. I know that after we're done with the positional group breakdown, I'm just going to give you a little hint. What we're going to do is we're going to go each team by team, and what we will do is we will go ahead and we'll have a board up, and we're going to put on there, what are your top three needs for each team, and so that's coming up in the future episodes. But we want to thank you for joining in with us, and we will see you Thursday.